Do you ever see a successful woman on your feed or in a magazine and think, wow, it must be nice to have it so easy? Well, think again. Behind that glossy cover or smiling face is a ton of hard work, countless failures, and endless learning experiences. I'm Rebecca Minkoff, and I'm here to tell you that success isn't a walk in the park. It takes grit, resilience, and a willingness to take risks. That's why I created Superwomen, a podcast that peels back the varnish and gets into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to make it as a woman in today's world. From luminaries and game changers to women you've never heard of but should, this podcast is here to inspire you to take your next leap, no matter how daunting it may seem. We'll explore the sacrifices these women have made, the highs and lows they've experienced, and the lessons they've learned along the way. So if you're ready to be inspired and learn from some of the most successful women out there, join me on Superwomen. Together, we'll uncover the stories behind the successes and prove that with hard work, determination, and a little bit of luck, anything is possible. Hey everyone, you're listening to Superwomen. Today's guest is the iconic Allison Ellsworth, the founder of Poppi. If you were born yesterday, you haven't heard of Poppi, but they are an incredible, healthier for you soda alternative. They have taken over the beverage market, number 2 in the space in the United States. And it was exciting to hear about her journey, starting from farmers markets with a baby on her back, bottling the liquid, to where the brand is today with global recognition, the Super Bowl, and so much more. Take a listen as we go deep into what it took to start the company, what it was like to pivot, and how she maintains this exciting approach to business to this day. Allison, welcome. I'm so excited to chat with you today. Let's dive in.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
So you've been in the news quite a lot lately.
Yes.
I love seeing all of your incredible marketing. It's wild. I was at your Fashion Week party last season and I was like, holy shit, none of these people know who this rapper is, but I am so excited that she brought him.
And by the way, it was 50 Cent and it was so iconic and I loved every second of it. Yes.
It was incredible. But to like, obviously, clearly I know 50 Cent, but to see these 18-year-olds like, huh? I was
Who
like, you need to get with it. This is 50 Cent and he's iconic.
100%. Oh my God, I'm obsessed.
I'd love for you to start with your journey. Like, what was Poppi before it was Poppi? I know you were on Shark Tank. Like, take me back.
Yeah, so excited to see how far Poppi has come, but it definitely did not start out that way. I think I have the typical entrepreneurial story of I saw there was a problem, right? Like I had health problems, my stomach hurt, my skin was like prone to acne, I wasn't sleeping good. And this is before like I'd ever read like a nutritional label and understood what you put into your body can really affect the way that you feel when it comes to food and ingredients. And I didn't even know what like gluten-free was. Like I'm talking, this was like 10 years ago, right? Before it was like all the fad and all the cool kids were doing it. And I went to doctors and they're like, nothing's literally wrong with you, like go home. And it just was something I didn't want to accept, that I could feel this crappy all the time. So I went on like a health journey, really just started understanding the way foods made me feel. And I love that part of the story because it didn't mean I was limiting stuff. Like I still eat burgers and pizzas and I love sushi and I love salads, right? It was just like everybody's body's a little bit different. And through that process, I discovered apple cider vinegar, which kind of, I loved the product, but it wasn't sustainable. I don't know. Have you ever taken just like a straight shot of apple cider vinegar?
So gross. And I keep reading how like transform your morning with this. And I have it in my fridge and I can't bring myself to do it.
And honestly, that was me. I was like 2 weeks. I was like, I got this. I love it. I love the way it made me, but I couldn't, it wasn't sustainable. So that was the kind of aha moment for me to go to my kitchen, create Poppi. And then after that, I just fell in love with wanting to share it with everyone. So I wanted to share it with my neighbors and my husband, and I took it to the local farmers market. And that's where like Whole Foods kind of discovered us in the way of, hey, this is not in grocery stores. You guys can be in grocery stores. And then the next step was obviously in the American dream as you go on Shark Tank. So went on Shark Tank, got a deal. And after getting a deal, we went through like a really big rebrand. We were Mother Beverage. We changed it to Poppi. We've, our positioning of better for you soda. You basically can have your soda and drink it too and not feel guilty about it. And so then we launched Poppi in March of 2020, the first month of COVID. And I do look back at that as like it was a hard time, aluminum shortage and like drama. And emotional stress that everyone was going through, but it was the first time everyone was thinking about health and wellness for the first time, literally worldwide. And then it forced us into being a digital brand like really early on. And so got onto TikTok. We have billions of views on TikTok and just, really started as this digital first brand from the beginning that I think made us build just such an incredible grassroots community that's just still so loyal till today.
So I want to go back to that moment where you're sitting at the farmer's market. It's called Mother Beverage. I know, even though you summarized it in 2 minutes as the elevator pitch, so much hard work, so much effort went into those moments. When you're sitting there at the farmer's market selling something, did you ask yourself, like, is this my future? And was that at the time enough for you? Or did you know, okay, this is something that could explode and be a phenomenon that it is today?
Honestly, I think the best ideas come from passion. And so for me, I never really even saw it as a business. So I worked in oil and gas research. I had a great career. We had just bought a house. I was pregnant with my first. I was about 3 months pregnant when I was at the farmer's market. And I at that point was just so obsessed with sharing it with people. It hadn't like kind of clicked that it was a business. And so and I almost like love that because I think if I was like, oh, I'm doing this to get rich, like there's a lot of stress in that. And let me just tell you, if you're an entrepreneur, it is very hard and it's really hard to be successful and then like actually make money. So, and I kind of knew that within like understanding business. And so for me, it was just like such a passion project. But that moment it kind of the light went off where they're like, this should be in Whole Foods, everything changed, right? I just became so obsessed with getting it to as many people as possible that nothing else mattered, right? We maxed the credit cards out. I didn't care that we just bought a house and I was pregnant. Like I was all in doing this, quit our jobs, never went back, went full in, husband got a second job, like all of those things at the beginning that I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, could I do it again? And 1000% I would, because, you know, success doesn't happen overnight. Like that was almost 8 years ago when that happened.
Wow.
Poppies in March will be 5 years. But I think it takes a long time. Everyone sees how successful Poppi is today, but there was just so much like literal blood, sweat, and tears that went into the uprise of where we are for sure.
And I don't think anyone realizes, just because Whole Foods comes calling, they don't, I know designers are like, I just need a couple of department stores. I'm like, that's its own nightmare. Like getting into Whole Foods is one thing, but then you got to sell it out of Whole Foods. You got to carry inventory. You be able to restock. So take me through some of that, knowing you went from a farmer's market and then did a rep from Whole Foods just come up to you and say, I like this? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so I still talk to her today. Her name is Kelly Landrew. She's incredible. She runs like the startup program at Whole Foods, but basically she was just kind of there with her mom at the farmer's market, not there with Whole Foods. And she was like, hey, let me help you. And at that point, we didn't have like on the back of a can, like nutritional labels. Like we didn't even have how many calories were in our product, right? We were so like 3 weeks in basically when that happened. And then we quit the job and maxed the credit cards out and went all in to then realize we only got to 14 stores of Whole Foods in Dallas, which is absolutely nothing in comparison to the scale of like where you need to be like a brand or even on like on a national level. And, like going through that process, we were in that for like about a year and then in some like local sandwich shops and everything. And I think we'd done like 500,000 in revenue when we decided to go into the Shark Tank conversation of we needed money or weren't going to make it, honestly, like looking back at that. Beverage is very capital intensive. Once you get in like people don't realize within grocery, like once you get on the shelf, like that's kind of actually not the hard part. Like you have to figure out what's your promo schedule, how is your distribution. Your distributor won't take you on unless you have a retailer. Well, if you don't have a retailer, you're not going to get distribution. It's like the chicken or the egg. And then you have to promote it and market it. And you're just like, it's absolutely wild what it takes. And
Did any of that come natural to you? Like the promoting and knowing you're in 14 stores and the pressure of that, like I got to perform. How did you even know what to do?
I love Google. I love networking. I love asking questions. Honestly, even like at Whole Foods, I was like, I don't even know how to do like tell us, right? And you'd be surprised like how helpful people can be if you ask questions and you don't just sit there and be like, I don't know, and you kind of give up. I think early on we just ask a lot of questions. I mean, I remember doing deliveries and going store by store, like with my baby strapped to the back of me. Like there was like nothing that was going to stop me from being successful at that point and like sharing with Poppy. And I thought at that point, like we had made it, right? Like with the 14 Whole Foods, like I had no idea the scale of how far we'd go. And I think as an entrepreneur, you kind of just have that mindset that you will literally kill yourself to be successful and do whatever it takes. And like I mean, we're all a little crazy at the end of the day. But it tends, if you have that passion, I think it can pay off.
I think underlining that is key. You have to do that, and you have to be willing to do that no matter how big or small your company gets. Because I tell people all the time, no one's ever going to push as hard for your product as you, the founder. There's no employee that will love it more than you.
Still to this day.
To this day.
Yeah.
So how did the Shark Tank conversation, happen? And then what was that process like? Because obviously I know TV, maybe too well. And clearly there's the pitch on Shark Tank, but then there's a lot of due diligence afterwards, and then you're giving up a significant portion of your company for X amount of dollars. And I'd love for you to answer how you got the Shark Tank and then going through that selling of a piece of your company, what that was like for you.
Yeah, it was interesting. Right before Shark Tank, we had someone that's interested in the business and they were going to give us like $250,000, which at the time, like that was so much money to us. And we were really excited about it, but he brought no strategic value to the business, no contacts, no distribution network, no grocery experience, beverage experience, right? It was just like money. And I've always like looked back at that. It's like the definition of like, he was a great guy, don't get me wrong, but it's like that dumb money of where you just have money and then you're like, what do I do with this? Like, thank you. And so for me, I'd always been just like a really big fan of Shark Tank. And we were successful. Things were going really incredible. The product was taking off. We were in talks to get more expansion into multiple regions of Whole Foods. And then to even produce it, like to do POs, like we couldn't buy caps, right? Like we couldn't buy bottles, ingredients, like all these things. So I remember on Instagram, like a thing for Mark Cuban, I think this was like Shark Tank comes to Dallas, like come try out. And we went and stood in line and tried out. And it was a 6-month process from that. So what it did give is it gave us like, even though it was a 6-month process and we were like struggling at the time, it gave us this hope of every step we got further in the process of Shark Tank was an affirmation that we were doing what we were supposed to be doing, right? So we ended up saying no to that guy that was investing in us, knowing that we might not get a deal or get on the show. Once again, that crazy mentality within an entrepreneur of like, you want to do what's good long-term for the business. And so we finally got on, and it was funny. I was pregnant with my second when we started the process of Shark Tank. I was 3 months pregnant. And then by the time we actually went on and I presented, I was 9 months pregnant and had the baby 10 days after. And then to your point, then it was 6 months of due diligence before we ever closed. And we closed the Friday before the episode aired, and we still hadn't been funded. So it's such a wild, long, almost like year-long process that we went through to starting the process, doing it, airing, and getting the deal done it really was like almost like 10 months.
How did you hold on financially during that time, knowing the money's coming, but you didn't, as you said, you didn't have money to get bottles or ingredients?
So since we're in Whole Foods, we kind of had opened our own small manufacturing facility. And that was where we'd gotten like a small friends and family loan for like $90,000 from my sister and my dad and, some friends. And then we would basically work and manufacture it ourselves through the week. So like Monday through Thursday, we were manufacturing it. And then on the weekends, we were still doing farmers markets to pay for our mortgage and groceries and, raw materials. We were then getting paid for being in the local foods and the sandwich shops and our own distribution. So it was just one of those things that, I think my husband told us this like not that long ago that I never knew, but it was just, I think the more of the brunt on that financial burden was on him of being like, we have like $20 in our bank account and like we can pay our mortgage or we can like fulfill this PO. And he continued to just fulfill the PO and hope that like somehow we would do it. And somehow we always did. I think like at one point we were like, we got to sell the house and do all this. Like our tax return came in and paid our mortgage for that month. Right. Like it was just like those type of things where you like look back at, he had a second job waiting tables at night. Like we just were doing it. And then I was like home with the 2 babies. Like it just was one of those things that like I said, I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Um, but I never faltered. Like it just was like this annoying passion that just like would never go away. And I still have it to this day.
I sometimes look back on those moments, my versions of that, and I have this nostalgia. Not that I'd ever want to go through some of that stuff again, but there's such a purity and an innocence of just that entrepreneurial drive to succeed, where the other problems that come later just seem less like, I don't know, tactile in a way. Like you're more removed from some of the problems, and you're not, like you said, at the farmer's market standing there and, feeding, have your kid on your back. Like when I set up my own trade shows and was renting a zip car and had poles sticking out of it and no one to help me because I couldn't afford them. Like you're just like, oh, there's like a fun tactileness to those early years that you sometimes as a founder can have less and less of as you grow.
Well, and it's like you're not jaded, right? Like now I've seen so many things and things not work out. And I talk to other entrepreneurs and try to mentor and do all these things. And it's just such like a purity of passion, of whatever it takes. And you're the risk, right? Like I'm sure as you grow, the risk adverseness, like it has to be there, right? Then I mean, you would like jump off a cliff to get the PL. Like it was just there, that purity to your point of it is just so part of everyone's entrepreneurial journey. And I love that people like, not a lot of people like talk about that, I guess, of they see the success and like all of the things now. And they're like, oh, you're just so big. Like it's so easy. And I'm like, girl, it was not easy. Like, but I wouldn't change it. Like you were saying.
Yeah. And I think every founder story, like if you look at Spanx and what she was doing, or Kendra Scott, like these incredible journeys. And they were like, same, right? Making jewelry in their guest bedroom or cutting off hosiery and then walking it into stores. I mean, those stories are incredible. And that's what makes, I think, talking to women like you so unique. So when you did the deal with it was Mark, right? Who you did the deal with? Or
No, so no, his name is Rohan. He was a guest shark, so he wasn't like typically on, which is kind of nice because I think a lot of the people like the sharks are like the Mark Cubans of the world probably have like teams, and it's like they have a ton of deals. But with Rohan, he only had like one or two deals on Shark Tank, so and he was like a beverage guy, so it was like kind of nice. And I remember the producer like loved Poppi, or well, I guess at the time it was Mother, and wanted to kind of match us up, but we didn't know it was he was on, and he didn't know it was us. Like they don't tell you on the show until basically the night before, so there's no way to prep. But we were really excited going in, and everyone kind of just started to go out. They're like, I'm out, I'm out, I'm out. And he at the last moment came in and said that he would do a deal. It was, I think it was like 400,000 for 20% at that time, the 500 revenue. And then once we did that, we decided to do the rebrand, right? So
who decided that, you or him, and why?
it was one of those things, like we had a great founder story, we had a great liquid, but we didn't have a brand, right? And I was so concerned with putting caps on bottles and like the farmers market, like to actually create a brand and who you are and like what are you telling the consumer, and all of that work was something that we'd never had time to put in. And we took 9 months off to do that work. And it was me, the other founder, Steven, my husband, one person that the shark is like his right person. Her name is Stevie, and then like him. And we took 4 months and we did it together.
When you say you took 9 months off, meaning you stopped making the product for 9 months?
We did.
Wow.
Yes. So we pulled back. We were going to get like national rollouts in Whole Foods with Mother Beverage after Shark Tank and the commercial and all the hype. And we were like, just kidding. We want to change the name, the packaging, the positioning. And then we had to repitch ourselves to the Whole Foods, the Sprouts, the Albertsons of the world to be like, hey, new product, but I promise you it's new and improved and better, and convinced. So that was like a whole other level of stress to like, oh my gosh. And honestly, everyone got on board pretty quick because it made so much more sense. Like our mission at Poppy's like revolutionize soda for the next generation and like better for you. We were fun, beautiful, bright cans. It was like this whole thing. And so it was just a lot better than being like, we're an apple cider vinegar beverage. Like nobody wants that at the end of the day. So everyone got on board pretty quick, but we did have to do a whole repitch. And that took a few months. And then, of course, we get through it. We get through the rebrand. We're so excited to launch. And it's March 3rd that we launch. And it was COVID. And we're just like, oh, like what? And so the grocery store shelves were more concerned with putting toilet paper on the shelf and all of those things. So we really shifted quickly to Amazon. And for the first 2 months of business, did Amazon. And then we had an update on Shark Tank Air. And then it was just like through the roof. And we got national rollouts. And it was absolutely wild after that. And we've just had like triple digit growth year over year ever since.
Oh my gosh. Become fearless and focused in pursuit of your dreams. In my book, Fearless, The New Rules for Unlocking Creativity, Courage, and Success, now available in paperback, I share personal stories and practical advice I've learned along the way in pursuit of my own, in fashion world and in my personal life. I talk about how persistence and courage have been the keys to my success. I share my journey of building a company and the challenges I've faced along the way. By refusing to give up and constantly stepping out of my comfort zone, I was able to break through the unspoken rules that have held women back for far too long. My hope through writing this book is to encourage you to face your own fears and take risks when going for your own goals. Fearlessness is a choice, and we all have the power to make it. The book is now available in paperback, including updated content and a new bonus chapter. So that moment when you said, hey, everybody, we're going to rebrand. We'll be back soon. Talk me through the fear, if any, you experienced of, here I have something, I have momentum, I'm going strong, and I'm just going to fucking cut it off.
Yeah, I think there's more fear on like my husband's side. He's definitely the less like riskier one. I'm so like I run like the creative at Poppi and the brand, and I'm always just the say yes and figure it out later. And like I think anything's possible, and the glass is half full. So I'm just like, to your point, like fuck it, let's go. And he's like freaking out in the back end, like, but we can't. What if this? And I'm just like, just believe. My biggest thing at Poppi throughout the years is it's I'm like chief believe officer. I'm like, just believe and it will happen. Just believe. Like every year we blow our numbers out of the water. Like we'll project and we'll double it, right? And I'm just like, what if we prepared and we believed? Like how much more prepared would we be? And so for me, there wasn't like a lot of, actually, I've never really had a lot of fear when it comes to those things. And I think that allowed Poppi to kind of be a disruptor in the space of doing things differently. But it's a lot of stress getting people to see that vision, if that makes sense. Like that's more where the stress comes from, of just like I can be really annoying and very like forceful with my thoughts, and people know my opinions. So
I mean, I would hope so, being that you're the founder. The times that I have not been forceful in my opinions are the times we got in trouble. So
yeah. And look, I think we're way bigger now, and it's definitely team mentality. And those were like the early years. And I've loved, like, everyone's like, I am not the CEO. Like, I don't want to be the CEO. That is not where my strong suit is. We have an incredible CEO that runs our company. And so like I've now through the years learned the value of other people and team and how to be a good leader. But most entrepreneurs like don't start a business to manage people. They don't know what an org chart is. They don't, all of these things like I've had to learn. And not only have I had to learn, I've had to learn them at rocket speed. So we just got some like numbers the other day. Poppi's, I think, like the second fastest growing beverage ever. And the only other beverage company that grew faster than this was Monster, right? So just for like context, in 5 short years. So not only have to do, but I had to do it like rocket speed in learning this. There's been a lot of like self-learning and journey as me as a founder and a human. But I think, I mean, I had to get like coaches, right? Like therapy, like working through, and that like understanding the stuff you have to give up along the way is like also another layer that's always just like nobody talks about.
yeah. What do you think for you of all those challenges was the hardest one that you worked through?
I think like at one point you're always like proving yourself through, like, a lot of people are like, yeah, cute, thank you, entrepreneur, but like we got it from here. And it's that knowing your voice. You do know typically like the brand is me and who I am, right? And so for me it was, people always, when you're hiring so quick, they don't know that, and then you feel like you're always having to like prove yourself and show it, while not being a total crazy person and being like my way or the highway, because like no one wants to work for anyone like that either. So for me that was probably like the hardest, of like constantly having to prove myself over and over again, that like do add value. Like, I promise you, like, if we work together, this is going to be better. And I think that we're at such a great spot now, and people value me and I value the team, but it was really hard, honestly, to have to go through that quickly. Like, I ran our marketing for the first like 2 years, and then we brought someone in to run the marketing. And I'll never forget the moment where she sat down, and it's not our current one, CMO, by the way. So like, who I love, and he's like my partner in crime. And she's like, okay, I'll have you completely offboarded in 2 weeks. I'll take it from here. And I was like, well, let me run you stuff. She's like, it's okay, I've read it. I mean, like, excuse me?
Did we
Like,
hire the same former CMO? This sounds really familiar.
excuse me? Yeah, it was like devastating. And you know what? She lasted like 4 months, right? Like, it was like everyone immediately was like, oh no, not the fit, not the, like, it was not good. But I mean, that's hard as an entrepreneur to be like, maybe I do need to do what's best for business. Do I need to step away? And then it like things started like crashing. It was just like kind of a nightmare. So like, it happens. We misstep. We got another person that's an incredible. We're besties. We're flying. But those are things like entrepreneurs have to go through, and it's not easy. So,
And I think people have trouble believing that even though you're the founder, it could happen to you. Like people are like, but it was your company. How did you let that happen? And I'm like, I didn't believe in myself. So I let it happen. And I started doubting my conviction. And so yes, I let it happen. And that's my biggest regret, is that I did that to myself in a way. Like I can't even blame them, because if I had been stronger, and I'm sure you feel this way, if I had been stronger and had more conviction in that moment, I probably would have been like, you're a POS, you can leave.
yeah. And I think like going through it though, I look at it on the other side, and it's made me grow so much as a leader and a person, and understanding how to work with other people. And it's that thing of like, we start out and we don't understand this whole world. There, like, I take our CEO, for example. He's been working, he was in military, which anyone that is any kind of leader, most of the leader attributes come from the military system, and org charts and hierarchy and all of that stuff. And then he worked his way from HR all the way up for over 14 years as CEO. And I'm like, hi, I've been doing this 3 years. Like, teach me something. But I used to hate it too. You know what I mean? I was just like, ugh, corporate agendas, like, ugh. And now I'm like, oh, we have to be organized. We need a good platform. We need process. Like, you can't just kind of wing it. And so I think like going through that, it made me realize the value of that. And then now coming out of the other side, we found a perfect combination to do both. And I think that even made the company stronger in the end. So, I mean, look, it's putting like lipstick on a pig in a bad situation, but I do think that if you can learn from it, it's always better.
So was it hard to go from literally overseeing the bottling and the liquid, going door to door, managing the business, to now you have a team, you have a CEO, you have a CMO? Like, I know personally, I went through this hard moment in 2018 where I was like, well, if I'm not picking the leather or deciding the font or whatever, like, who am I? If my identity is designer, and I'm no longer touching every single facet of every single item, then am I less of one? Did you go through any of that?
I think that was kind of like what I was speaking to a little bit, but I think now, because we've gone through that at Poppi, and also in return realized the people sitting at the table have now realized the value that I bring. And so
Yeah.
instead of suppressing it, we've built up a system that allows me to just be creative, right? I don't have to deal with budgets and the P&Ls and like buying media and Super Bowl commercials. Like, that's not where my strong suit is. So we brought in like an incredible, I have a VP of creative. We've built basically a little agency within Poppi, and allowing, a creative director of copy to build out the brand house. Because for a while, it was all in my head. And it's really hard for people to get it if it's on my head. So a big project that we did was we built out a brand book, a brand house. Like, I basically got everything out of my head. It was like a year, and I put it down on paper, and it's like a 200-page manual, and it's like we run everyone through it, and we can give it to agencies. And it's one of those things that like I had to learn to like let go, but I also couldn't get mad if people didn't get it, because it's like, you can't read my mind at the end of the day. So like going through that process was really therapeutic. I had to say over, these colors don't ever go together. Like, black is a big no-no at pot. Like, the weirdest little things that used to drive me insane. Well, it's like, well, write it down, put it in the brand book, and now other people get it. And And it's honestly, it was such a big project. And now we're on the other side. And it's so nice to now sit back and like everything's been presented to me. And I'm like, oh, they get it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they get it. So
Yeah. And if they don't get it, then they're idiots.
yeah. Or they'll learn to get it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, we have a brand book. It's not 200 pages, but it makes me think I need to make mine bigger. It's probably 30. And when someone's like, but I don't get it, I'm like, I don't know how to make it any clearer. It's mostly pictures, not words.
Yeah, totally. And the do's and the don'ts. But then a lot of people do it though, just for example, and then they leave it. So we update it almost like monthly, if not, every few months or quarterly. Because like I look at our brand and what we were when we first started out to where we are now, we're so much cooler like 5 years later. And it's because I think we always move at the speed of culture. So we're just seeing culturally what's relevant. And I'm sure you get this with like every season, it's a different look, right? It's those things of changing with the times is also something that's really passionate that I'm always like talking about. It's like I want to be the first person to put that meme up on social and everyone's copying us. I don't want to be copying other people.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Grammys or the Met Gala or some cultural moment, we're like constantly, and now the team thinks that way because of it. And so it helps us kind of stay at the forefront.
So take me through the risks you take in marketing. No one would ever think that, a drink like Poppi would participate in Fashion Week in the way that you did with a 50 Cent or a Super Bowl commercial or sending the vending machines to influencers, whether it was good or bad, people are talking about it. So take me through the risk versus reward of those scenarios and what kind of pushes you guys to keep taking those risks.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to like the clothing, so we were looking for like a way to be like different within our gifting, right? And I always just like loved fashion. It was the COVID era where everyone's like stuck at home in sweat sets. And so we dropped like a fun pink sweatsuit during, I think it was like January, like it was kind of like coming off COVID, but everyone's kind of just like at home and it went absolutely viral on TikTok. And so then we started giving away to our community and we started putting on our website and then we started doing like hype drops. And so for us, when we do like an event or a community event, we usually want it tied to a tentpole event that's already happening. So New York Fashion Week, everyone's already in New York. You're not paying to get talent out there. You're not paying, you know, to like bring people in. Like everyone's just like already there. It's like a cultural hub. So that was like an easy reason to pick it. And then we had already kind of had this tied to like all of our drops within clothing. And then we dropped like a 26-piece collection with that with our apparel, and it was just all very true to Poppi. But I've always seen it as like a marketing tactic. It's not, now we're a fashion brand. And I think that's what like sets products and brands apart, is like you do things differently. You're not just like constantly talking about we have 5 grams of sugar and clean ingredients. Like that's boring. I mean, it's like we still talk about it, but it's like cool, thanks. Cool. So for us, that was a really big piece of the evolution of the clothing. And so much so that like Target saw us doing that and reached out and was like, do you guys want to launch a clothing line with us that we have in all Target stores right now? It's a limited run. It was January, it's February. So it's almost like done, in the next few weeks, but it's just evolved through, I think, apart from the brand. And then I think with our growth for like the Super Bowl aspect, we had the distribution. So we were in every major grocery stores across the nation. We had the fan base. And what is a better time to get your product in front of everybody that they're not super annoyed with advertising is Super Bowl. And some people don't realize soda is the number one drink at Super Bowl, consumed drink. So it's drank more than water and alcohol. Soda is a huge use occasion. So if we're truly trying to revolutionize soda, next generation, it's like, hello, this makes a lot of sense for us. So it was our second year doing it this year. And then of course, last year we were like really rushed. And this year we were like planned a whole year. And then we wanted to do the 360, hence the vending machines and like all of the drama that came with that. But I think that I still feel like people are talking about our brand. We're still the hottest, coolest soda out there. And I'm just still really proud of the team and all the work they've put in.
So when people do talk negative, and I've been through my own journey on this, like sometimes you're just like, well, people are talking, good or bad, people are talking. So how do you approach it when you are so visible and so big that you get the good and the bad?
I think people just like to talk about the bad. the trolls are loud. And, you know, I think what's made Poppi special throughout the years is like our community. Like our engagement rate, our community is bananas. Like all of the pop-ups that we've done, we've had people flying from Hawaii to come to our pop-up. Like our community is like so fierce and incredible. It's what's made Poppi so special. So then when people were talking bad that we sent vending machines out, whereas like to me, like a soda company having vending machines to me is also like, I don't see why that's a problem, but you know, that's nor here nor there. But
Either, to be honest. I mean, then don't follow the influencer who's given you know, everything anyways. Like it's ridiculous to pick a fight with that.
well,
But
we also did send the vending machines to small creators, but I think that the big creators are what's seen. They have the followers. So it's like you can't tell what's going to go viral. You have no, like if I could predict what's going to go viral, I would be a billionaire, right?
yeah,
Like I would be like I'd have an agency and I'd be telling people how to do it. Like you have zero idea, but the things that tend to go viral are the negative things or aspirational, right? Like people love a good story too, but it's like within these things, it's like one of those. And then we did have a competitor that added a little bit of fire to the conversation, which I would never do, right? I'm not a bully. I don't like talk bad about other brands, but I just think that it was honestly a good lesson. And I always look at these things as like a good lesson and how we can learn from it going forward. And at the end of the day, I still look back at we are a soda company that sent out vending machines. The trolls were trolling, and I think like our community is still extremely happy. Our engagement's through the roof. We did a Super Bowl ad. It's like Poppi will be okay.
I love it. So what's a typical day like for you now, if there is one?
Yeah. Um, I have three kids, and at that, I have three boys. They're 2, 6, and 8, and so I'm exhausted. Like in all honesty, I'm tired, but I feel so good at where the business is within Poppi and the people and the platform, and we have great processes in place that I kind of just get to do the really fun stuff now, right? Like I don't have to stress as much about the day-to-day life within Poppi. So for me, 20% of the time is like creating content and being the face and traveling. I get to be more present with my kids nowadays. I am so excited. I have such a good team that like all the creative ideas just come up to me and I'm like final approval, or I get to lead brainstorms. Like it's kind of the dream right now is where I'm excited. But am I still working 7 days a week on vacation, up late at night? Yes, because I love it. At the end of the day, it's not necessarily because I need to, but it's because I love it. So but I do think my work-life balance in 25 was a big goal of mine to get better. And I do think I'm doing better and saying no to things that I used to say yes to. And I'll continue that journey of balance, but it's still hard. I love it. I can't explain it. I love it. I can't.
No, you
It's
don't
not
have to explain it. I get it. Like it's like you get to this point like where you're at or where I'm at in 20 years later where you're like now I get to do all the fun stuff that like I slogged for 20 years and so you want to keep saying yes to these new opportunities and these new things but then it takes you away from like you said you're trying to achieve more of an equilibrium with your family. So it's definitely like another layer of complexity. I don't know that I was anticipating because now I'm like, oh, that's fun. I want to do that and that and that. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm not home this month. Great. I need to, pull back.
That was me last year. And I looked at the calendar. I think I live in Austin, Texas, and I was like in New York for like 3 months last year. And I was like, whoa, like once I started like really looking at it and the kids, like they're still little and I don't think it's impacting them. I'm still very present and I will kill myself to get on that early flight to be home, to put them to bed and all of those things. But I'm like, oh, they're little. I'm missing it. You know what I mean? So it's a different perspective. But I still say yes to fun things. I went to the Super Bowl 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to Mexico City next week with my husband. And like, that's another thing. It's like, I'm also trying to find time to like me and my husband work together. His office is next to mine. We're in every board meeting. We're every meeting together. So it's like, oh, maybe we should like travel just us and go on vacation, just us two. Like, so that's this time in my life. I'm sure I'll get busier. But I do think people forget that over the time within entrepreneurship is to like self-care through a different way of self-care for me is just being present versus getting my nails done and hair and sleeping. It's like I don't have time to meditate. So
Totally. Totally. And
cute.
so I'm asking everyone to share a fearless moment where they were scared and did something anyways.
I mean, start a business. But I think for me, when we were first going on to TikTok, I had the board. I had everyone tell me it was the dumbest idea because it was only for dancing people and like young kids. And I was like, cool, I'll do it on the weekends. I'll do it myself. Zero support. I will not take $1 from the company. And I started posting. And let me just tell you, I was dancing. I was doing recipe videos. I was like day in my life. I was doing anything I could to go viral. And I remember just being like, what am I doing? This is the dumbest. Like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. Like, what? And then it like madly paid off. And that's where our community is. And now everyone comes back. They're like, oh, thank goodness you did that. But I look back on that and it was just like, wow. Like, I just so outside the box and comfort zone within anything. And I just look back and it was such a big moment that I took separate from starting the company to get us to the next level.
Wow. I should have done the dancing, I guess. I remember during COVID, my PR team was like, we really need you on TikTok. And I was like, well, I'm not going to dance. So no. And look, now I'm starting over on TikTok. Now it's me and 20,000 followers.
And it's never too late though.
Oh my gosh. Well, yes, that's our focus for this year. Clearly everyone knows where to find you, but anything you want to drop, where to find you, follow you, all the things.
Yeah. So Poppi, I mean, obviously gonna like literally in any grocery store, Amazon, Canada. It's at Drink Poppi and on handles, and then mine is at Allison Ellsworth. And I'm just so excited to have chatted with you today. It's so fun.
Yay. Awesome. I just wanted to thank you guys for listening to today's episode. I also want to ask you to rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it actually helps with search and algorithms. So if you love this podcast, it is an easy way to get it more visible and out there. I also want you to follow me on Instagram at Rebecca Minkoff, at RM Superwomen, and be sure to check out my book, Fearless, The New Rules for Unlocking Creativity, Courage, and Success. Thank you again, and you will hear from me next week.